Hi, my name is Dr. Nathan Groot. I am a music instructor at the Arkansas School for Mathematics, Sciences, and the Arts, where I teach string ensemble, applied string lessons, and other music courses. Today we are taking a look at the Arkansas All-Region excerpt for Senior High Division. This is the Brandenburg Concerto No. 3 viola part. This is a very fun piece. If you're unfamiliar with the Brandenburg concertos, I encourage you to go listen to all of them. But it's a lot of fun to play with the group, and then also the excerpt itself is a lot of fun. The first thing I would recommend doing with all of these excerpts is to first listen to it. So go on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you listen to music and listen to the full recording of this. It's a good idea to listen to it with the score. You can find a score on imslp.org and follow along just to get a real sense of the style, how we're going to play this piece, and how your viola part fits in with the rest of the parts in the ensemble. Okay, a few things to talk about first. We have one sharp, and that is F sharp, but we also have lots of accidentals to watch out for, especially D sharps. So just make sure you're really clear on the key signature and then also any accidentals that appear in your music. Also, in terms of time signature, we are in 12/8. So you can count this in two different ways. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Or you can count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, which is what I would recommend once we get up to tempo. So what I do is I'll start out counting the eighth note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., so that I can really get all of the 16th notes clean. Ta ta ti ta 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 ta. So that I'm not practicing too fast. You want to practice at a tempo that is comfortable, that is not challenging you to the point at which you can't play the music accurately. 12/8 is a compound meter, which means that each big beat, the dotted quarter note, is divided into 3 equal divisions. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So we have a lot of that going on in this excerpt, and we're going to want all of those to be really clearly even. So this excerpt is a little bit long. I'm going to take you through the whole thing. First thing is I have some fingerings to suggest. Importantly, these are just my own fingerings. Fingerings are a very personal thing. Your teacher may have a totally different recommendation. Your hand may require something totally different. So, take these if they are useful. If they are not, then don't worry about it. But hopefully these will help you at least a little bit, or at least get you on the path to finding what works really well for you. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is actually not the left hand, but is the right hand. And it's the bow stroke and style that we're going to be using. We're going to start practicing this at a much slower tempo than the final tempo. Now, the problem with that is if we start really slowly, it's going to be tempting to do this. Now, the problem with that is when we go fast, we won't be able to use that amount of bow. We're going to want to start out using a short bow stroke that is near the balance point and focus on getting a really clean articulation with each of those eighth note bow strokes, okay? So Bach is a Baroque composer. This style of music is going to be a little bit different than maybe music that was written in the Romantic era or the 20th century or even the 21st century now. So we have to take these things into account to play this in a stylistically accurate way. We're going to want these to be somewhat articulated. Ta, 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 ta. You don't need to make it ultra short. After all, there is not a staccato on these notes. But we're not going to want to play these extra super duper legato either. So you may notice as you listen to different recordings that a lot of the performers do this as well, where they will have a little bit of space, a little bit of a shorter articulation on these eighth notes, a sort of brush stroke. Whenever we have 16th notes, I change things. I am really on. Just right in the middle, super, super on, no bounciness going on there. So if I were to play just open strings from the beginning, it would sound like this. So you hear the little difference in those different articulations, those little bow strokes. So really, really on in the 16ths and a little bit of space after the 8th notes. So in the first measure, I just utilize a low 1 for that D sharp. And then when we get to the second one, which I guess is technically measure 18, I play that E with a 2. And then 1, 2, 2, 1, 1. So that I avoid this 1, 1, 1, which is very inefficient and will probably sound sloppy at a faster tempo. So I'm coming from that B, and then I find 2. And that allows me to get through those 16th notes without sort of tripping over myself. There is a bowing I would like to suggest. This is in measure 21. I like to do a double up on the 2nd and 3rd 8th notes of that measure on the F sharp and the B. That puts me on a down bow for the 16th notes. And I think that works out a little better for me, just having a down bow there. And it puts me where I want to be for what comes later. In measure 22 and 23, we have something that if you're in music theory, you may have seen before, a sequence. Now, if you're not and you don't know what a sequence is, that's okay. This is a descending sequence. It descends by step. If you just look at the pattern, you will probably be able to see it. So halfway through 22, we have... And then we have the pattern repeat, the next note down. And then the next note down. These are used a ton in Baroque music, and it's always good to show that we know what's going on. The structural notes here are D, C sharp, B. So what I do is I give the first note of each of these, well, it's called a model and a copy, but let's say each of these units that repeats. So I'll give a little bit of an extra oomph to that D halfway through 22, to the C sharp at the beginning of 23, and to the B halfway through 23. And then I'll add a little bit of a decrescendo throughout each of those units, we'll call them. So it sounds like this. And then you get out of it. So what this does is it is communicating through our performance what Bach is doing harmonically here by bringing us through a descending step sequence. This not only is a faithful performance of the piece, but it will also communicate to your adjudicators that you are aware of what's going on here and is very musically sound in terms of interpretation. In the next measure, in measure 24, be careful with the A sharps. They're kind of tricky there. So we have F sharp, C sharp, I do a high 3, and then for that A sharp, I'll show you, I'm just bringing my first finger up right behind where my F sharp is on the D string. Bringing that up, and that's how I'm finding that A sharp. 4, normal 1, E, C sharp 3, bring that first finger up to an A sharp, it's still an A sharp, 4 on D, C sharp, high 1, A sharp, 4, 2, 3. So that's a little bit of a treacherous spot. Take an extra glance at that. Make sure that you're remembering all of your A sharps through the measure and that they're really in tune. Using your second finger to find that, so feeling that half step between a high 2 and a high 1 will help you. Now, let's talk about what might be the trickiest two measures in the piece. This is the end of measure 25 and the beginning of 26. So So I use 1, 3, 3, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, high 3. And you can follow along on the screen as well. But this is tricky for a couple of reasons. One is just the string crossings are hard, and then the other thing is it's requiring us to hold down a fifth, the interval of a fifth. 2 of these at the same time, which is kind of hard to do, and it's hard to get in tune, and it's a lot of maneuvering around here. So what I do is I go low 1, 3, and when I put that 3 down, I'm putting it down right between both strings, and it's going down on both strings. So I'm holding an F sharp and a C sharp down at the same time. Then I go up. This one doesn't require any fifths, but it does require a string crossing. And then in 26, we have C sharp to E to F sharp, but we're going to have to be doing this sort of fifth thing. I actually find the fifth not at the very beginning of the measure, but when I go to the F sharp. So I go from a C sharp to an E, and then when I lift my second finger to find that F sharp on the D string, I just drop it on both strings so that I can hold the fifth. That way I can just hold that. You don't really have time to hop between these two, so you do have to kind of hold that fifth, and it's good to practice that from a slow tempo. The string crossings here aren't actually that bad, but it's a little bit difficult because so much of your brain power is going to the craziness that is your left hand. So it's good to practice the bow by itself. Right? Sometimes while I'm doing that open string thing, I'll put my finger against my thumb. So my thumb becomes like the surrogate fingerboard, right? So that looks like this. Where I will be thinking about the actual pitches but not playing them. So playing the open strings and using my left hand to imagine what the left hand is doing. Okay, then after that craziness, we are all good. Playing this stuff, not hard. Okay, now we're at 28. We have F sharp and then some 16th notes. I find that this works best in third position. Some may disagree. I think that trying to cross over 2 strings is too much. And then the C sharp D E thing, I think you kind of have to get yourself up to third position. This is kind of hard to do, but once you're there, I think it's worth it. So I play an F sharp and then go up to third position, 3, an E, third finger on E, F sharp, and then I'm reaching back for the F sharp on the C string, which is just that octave. And then you have C sharp, which is a fifth over D. So all together it sounds like this. Right? It's one fingering. There may be a different fingering that that works better for you, but this is the one that works for me. So we end up on this dotted quarter note D on beat 3 of measure 28 on an up bow, which is tied into a 16th note. Now here's a little thing you may have noticed when looking at my music. I have a big old line through that 16th note. The reason I have a line through that 16th note is I want it to essentially not exist. It exists in time, but I'm treating it like a rest because I want to go ba, da, 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 da. I want to get to the 16th notes that come later. The thing about ties is the important thing is when to stop holding the tie so that you can play what comes next on time. Additionally, I play an up bow on the C sharp, so everything works out in the bowing. But so I'm on an up bow here, 3 and when you're playing it, I want you to really feel that on that 16th note. So really feel a physical impulse there to propel you into what comes next with the correct rhythm. This is the point at which people are going to get behind or tripped up. So this is a spot to practice. Ta, ba, 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 ba. Stopping the bow right on the beat and then continuing on from an up bow with those 16th notes. After this, I go on low 1 and I play all this in half position. 4, 2, 4, 3, 1, 1, get up into first. All of this has been forte. We've had forte this whole time, and then guess what happens? Measure 30 is piano. This needs to be really dramatic. Dee da dee da da da. Nothing, right? So I wrote a little piano at the end of that line because otherwise I would probably end up playing the first D in 30 really loud and then thinking, oh, oops, and then get quiet. But really, this is a subito, suddenly piano. So we want to get quiet right away. We don't want to give away the surprise either, which is hard to do, actually. It's really hard to not get quiet at the end of 29, but try your best to stay loud and then drop without messing up the rhythm and become really soft at those at measure 30. So, a quick note about dynamics. We have weight, how much weight we're transferring from our arm through the bow and into the string. We have speed, how much speed we're using. Faster is generally louder, but we need to be careful with that because it can make us messy if we use too much. And then we also have contact points. So fingerboard is going to be a little softer, bridge is going to be a little louder, okay? So when we play that piano, very little weight and contact point closer to the fingerboard. Now we have a forte. Contact point closer to the bridge, more weight. Now, this is the fingering in this last measure plus a note. This is the fingering that I went back and forth on the most, just full transparency. The fingering I ended up with is not my favorite fingering in the world, to be honest, but I think that it's the best one I can find. So I go open, and then 1 for the F natural, so second position. And then down to a 1 E. I can imagine a world where you go to third. At the B, so go from second to third, and then down to either first or second for the B at the end. The problem with staying in first is it creates a very unfortunate string crossing. All right, so what we are going to do next is go through at different tempos. I'm just going to play it starting at 8th note equals 100. I'll walk you through what we're doing here, and I'm just going to play it beginning to end. Now I want to stress that this is not the only way or even the most efficient way to practice. So when you are practicing, make sure that you are using your best practices in terms of practicing the instrument, in terms of practicing your part. Isolate spots, listen, record yourself, and really focus on problem solving rather than repetition, because I don't want you to repeat mistakes. However, this is a good way to tell sort of where you are at any given tempo. So feel free to also play along with this, come back to it, skip ahead, skip back, play one tempo over and over again, however, whatever works best for you. So we're going to start out with 8th note equals 100. 1, 2, 3, ready, and go! 3, ready, and go. Now instead of going to eighth note equals 120, I'm going to go to dotted quarter equals 40. So this is a compound meter, we're in 12/8. Compound means that the big beat is split into 3 equal parts. 120 divided by 3 is 40, so that's why we're at 40 instead of 120. So with this beat, we're going to subdivide 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so here's 40. 1, 2, 3, ready, and go. Here is 50. If you need to go up more slowly between 40 and 50, that's totally understandable. I'll often go up by twos, so I'll go 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, and then 50. But just for the sake of time, this is 50. 1, 2, 3, ready, and go. 1, 2, 3, ready, and go. And then here's 70, which is at the low end of our goal tempo range. One, two, three, ready, and go. And then this is 78, which is at the high end of our tempo range. 1, 2, 3, ready, and go. Okay, so this has been your rapid fire version of the Brandenburg excerpt. It's very possible that I have forgotten something or missed something, or you have a question that I didn't think about. If that's the case, please let me know. I'd be happy to try to address it and answer it for you. Otherwise, I hope that this video has been somewhat useful to you, and I wish you the very best of luck at your upcoming audition this fall. All right, thanks so much for watching, and as always, happy practicing.